Hey guys, so I'm going to grind some beef to make some hamburgers for lunch, so I figured I would show you how to use my Kitchenaid grinder. It took me a little bit of figuring out to know how to do it. So the parts are, first, this is where the food goes in. It's got a hollow hole through there. It comes out on this end. And then you've got this corkscrew that rotates and attaches to the motor, and it pushes the meat through the grinder. So we just put this in here like so. And the next piece that goes on is this cog wheel. You can think it's actually the blade for the meat grinder, and it goes directly on top of the corkscrew there. Fits on perfectly like a puzzle piece. The next piece is the meat grinding plate. I believe this is the coarse grind. You've got a couple different plates you can choose from, but mine came with the coarse grinder. So that goes right on top of the cutting plate. It doesn't matter which way it goes. It'll fit on both ways. And then the last one you have is the cap that goes on top of the coarse grinding plate. And that just screws on. There you go, you got it all set up and ready to go. You can see the corkscrew through the bottom there where the meat will be pushed through. And it comes out through this end. This end attaches to your Kitchenaid, and I'll show you it put all together. So what I do is to take the screw off of the Kitchenaid decorative plate. Take that off there. Put your meat grinder. And then you're going to put the screw back in place to hold the meat grinder. Make sure it's in there tight, because when the motor's running it can become loose. Alright, so that attaches there on like that, and I'll show you the kind of meat that I use. A helpful tip is to put the meat in the freezer for about 10 minutes just so it gets a little bit firm. It makes it easier to cut, and when it grinds through it won't gum up in your food processor. Now let me grab my meat. Alright, so I've got 1.5 pounds of top sirloin steak and 1/2 pound of beef loin, top loin. I like to get meat that has a little bit of fat in it. I'm not going to use all of this fat because it'll be too fatty, but when you're making hamburgers you want to have some fat, or else your burger will be too dry. So I'm just going to cube this up and trim off a bit of the fat. I'm just finishing up cutting up my meat, and I just want to point out, when you're looking for what kind of beef to grind, you want something that has good marbling like that. That's pretty good. You got good fat content throughout the meat. Now just cutting in about 1-inch squares here, and I just want to point out, we don't eat beef a lot. In fact, we hardly eat it, maybe every couple months or so. I think a little bit of red meat is okay, it's good for the iron, but if I'm going to eat especially ground meat, I get really weird. I don't like pre-ground meat because I don't know what's in it, and I feel better just grinding it myself, and it takes a second. So it's a lot easier to do, and you get a whole lot more meat for your money grinding it yourself. You could just, spend the whole day, grind a bunch of meat, and how fun is it to grind meat? I mean, it's super fun. Alright, so I got my cubed meat here. I'm going to back up my Kitchenaid. Back it on it. Put your bowl. Put it kind of close to the grinder, or else you get meat splattage, and that's kind of gross. So kind of stuff your meat in there, and I don't have my meat pusher, so I'm going to use a chopstick. Right, and you just turn it on slow at first, and then I go up to medium. It takes a couple seconds for it to get going. You just push it with your tool. There you go. Meat comes out nice grind, medium grind is really good. Alright, and this is how much meat the 2 pounds of meat that I bought made. It's really nice and loose, so it makes really good hamburgers. So I also wanted to point out that when you're done at the end of the grinder, a good way to clean it out is you could stick a couple pieces of bread, just regular untoasted bread, through there, and it'll help push everything else out and keep it nice and clean. So I like to hand wash these things because I don't feel like dishwashers really do that great of a job, and it's not good for the metal components. So always hand wash your expensive attachments. That's my point. And so I'm just gonna put some salt, pepper, garlic powder, nothing crazy. I just like, a good piece of meat for the flavor to come through. Then we'll make some burgers and fry them up for lunch. I hope. Alright, and this is the finished product. This is our lunch today. It's homemade ground hamburger with some homemade spicy pickles, a lovely tomato, and some grilled asparagus, and grilled romaine salad with grilled lemon. Yeah, we grilled everything today. Woohoo! Definitely worth the effort.